I've been involved with RSN for nearly 15 years. Support from someone who's been there makes all the difference.
Hey David, what are you listening to?
Kidney Talk, an online radio podcast that talks about kidney disease and the prevention of it.
Oh, cool. Where can I find that?
Oh, you can download it on iHeartRadio, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.
Oh, nice. I'll definitely have to download that.
Shout out to Renal Support Network, the annual Renal Support Network essay contest. I won the Renal Support Network contest last year, the Warrior, and we are all warriors. So thank you. Keep on doing all that you do, and be happy and healthy and keep the hope. Thank you, Renal Support Network. Woohoo!
As a kidney transplant recipient, I find that having an actual publication like Kidney Talk is an invaluable resource for any kidney warrior at any stage.
RSN keeps me informed of kidney advocacy issues so my voice can be heard.
I'm really looking forward to the prom this year and meeting people who are just like me. Dressing up is super fun and all the activities are amazing. Can't wait to see you there.
Hi, I've been participating in the Renal Support Network 30-minute fitness Zoom classes. Not only have I lost 15 pounds, but I can also strike a yoga pose like this.
When I created Renal Support Network back in 1993, I had no idea the impact that I would have among my peers. An illness is too demanding when you don't have hope, and peer support, education, and knowledge are crucial to our survival. We have a great week planned with some incredible speakers, great information for you to share, learn, so we can survive and thrive with this illness. It's imperative. So stay tuned. We're going to have a great event, and a shout out to our corporate mission partners for making this happen.
So we're going to move on to our next speaker. I see that there are several questions about protein from our speakers. So I think our next doctor will be able to address this. So Dr. Kam Kalantar, Zeta, is a board-certified physician and specialist in internal medicine, pediatrics, and nephrology. Wow, we have a powerhouse in the house. Has a master's degree in public health and PhD in epidemiology from UC Berkeley, and provides patient care in California. He has created the Harold Simmons Center for Kidney Disease Research and Epidemiology to conduct patient-centered studies and to train pre- and post-doctor students and fellows and early career investigators. Dr. Kalantar has authored or co-authored over 500 peer-reviewed articles and several chapters. He is an associate editor and/or an editorial board member for several peer-reviewed journals and a member of several professional societies. Dr. Kalantar has received several prestigious awards, which we can tell from his work. So let's welcome Dr. Kalantar Seda with the CKD Diet. I got stuck there. I was looking at your slide. The CKD Diet, what to know based on new science. So this is an exciting topic. I think it's a great flow from our previous discussion. So tell us what you got. What's the latest news?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Miss Wendy Rogers. I assume that everybody can hear me.
Yes.
Fine. Very good. Thank you. So I'm going to start. Thank you very much. It's such a great opportunity for me. It's a pleasure, honor. I feel privileged to be connected with this great platform under great leadership of colleagues, especially patients, patient leaders. This is what we have been looking for all these years, and this new era of patient-centeredness, which is just still in its infancy. I mean, patients being controlled, running things that are related to them, not doctors, not nurses, but patients, not the governments, not the insurance companies, but patients. So again, that's why I can't express my high level of enthusiasm. Yes, I'm a nephrologist. I'm a kidney doctor. I take care of mostly adult patients, even though I'm board certified. Also in internal medicine, nephrology, and pediatrics. I'm also involved with World Kidney Day. This is the companies I've been working with, but I'm chief of nephrology at University of California, Irvine in Orange County. One of the societies that I work with is called International Federation of Kidney Foundations, or World Kidney Alliance. We are in charge of the World Kidney Day, and I would like to run this by you. World Kidney Day on March, during the entire March, the third Thursday of March should be celebrated and acknowledged. I started working with the World Kidney Day colleagues in 2016, and as we celebrated 2017, 2018 was kidney disease in women. 2019 was about universal approach and access for everybody with kidney disease without any discrimination. 2020, that means this year, is about primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention of CKD. And next year, you will hear more, is about living well with kidney disease. That means if you have kidney disease, if you have CKD stage, any stage, if you're dialysis dependent, if you're a kidney transplant patient, you should be living well and happy with kidney disease, living long and well. And so please, if you have suggestions or comments about these things, always let me know. Email me, contact me about World Kidney Day 2021, because this belongs to patients. The year 2021, World Kidney Day is all about patient care. So some of the presentations today in the next 35 minutes are coming from the textbooks I've written and the papers. So I start with these things. So we may not know that the ESRD, which is actually the name of the legislation. I mean, it's called end stage, which is inappropriate name, renal disease. It's a statutory name. It's a 1972 legislation which allowed any person who needs dialysis in this country to receive dialysis. It is probably the first and last socialist medicine, universal medicine this country has ever had. This is the first time and last time that anybody who is even younger than 65 becomes beneficiary of Medicare, even if you're younger than 65. All other disease states, you have to be above 65. The only exception is when you have this disease that needs dialysis. So it was done for good reasons. 120,000 people every year transition to dialysis. And the current US president, which is now past US president, in July, came up with this executive order. And I always say that, and even I said that last year when this came out, I said, it doesn't matter who the US president is or will be. This advancing of our kidney health is a good thing. Why? Because it says more home dialysis, more preemptive transplant, and also 25% less kidney failure by 2030. And I can tell you that this will last. And in fact, the new president will probably embrace this as one of the good things. And this was all planned even prior to the current president. And 25% less kidney failure by 2030 means instead of 120,000, we're going to go down by 40,000 people less. How can we do this? That's the question. It's easy to order executive order. It's difficult to implement this, right? And in the era of COVID-19, it's even more difficult. So therefore, the goal is here that if you have CKD, while there is nothing wrong with dialysis or kidney transplant, I'm here to assure you there's nothing wrong. If you can defer this and delay this, why not? And staying with CKD 4 and 5, I just finished my CKD clinic. I keep telling the patients that we are here to work together as a team to keep you off dialysis if you don't need dialysis, because the era of pushing for earlier dialysis is over. And this is Journal of Renal Nutrition. I would like to highlight this again, executive order pillar number 1, that means less Americans requiring dialysis or kidney transplantation. And therefore, the year 2020 was about prevention. Prevention doesn't mean that I don't want to have kidney disease. It means if I have kidney disease, that means secondary prevention, tertiary prevention means if I have kidney disease, I can avoid more advanced stages of kidney disease. And if I have more advanced kidney disease, I can avoid kidney failure requiring dialysis or transplantation. And if I have kidney failure and require kidney dialysis and transplantation, I can avoid problems, prevent problems. So if you look at this, in the old days, it was early dialysis, right? As kidney function was getting old, that era hopefully is over. Now we are working on under preservative management, how to preserve kidney function, and palliative care, which has its own place. It's really for only a small group of patients. Don't take me wrong, I'm not against palliative care, but I'm saying that we should not push family members and patients to sign up with avoiding dialysis or transplant and just because we need ICU beds for COVID patients, and in a few weeks, we may have another surge in this country. Hospitals may run out of beds. We are here to protect our kidney patients from whatever is happening. Symptom management in 2021 is going to be very important because until now, we doctors say that, look, if you are a dialysis patient or kidney transplant, we took care of your serum creatinine. But the patient says, hey, I'm not happy. I have nausea, vomiting, I have pain, I have sleeplessness. And we nephrology and doctor says, look, that's not my problem. Well, guess what? It's going to become your problem, doctor, because this is about symptom management and living well with kidney. And this was published actually a few weeks ago in New England Journal of Medicine, and myself, Dr. Whiteman, and Dr. Bia, we wrote about this, how to live well with kidney disease and how to have different models for kidney management. Now, going back to dialysis, I'm going to share with all of you doctors or patients that yes, mortality is high in the first few months after switching to dialysis, probably because we switched suddenly to 3 times a week instead of starting once to twice a week, which is called incremental approach. And now at UC Irvine, we have created incremental dialysis. That means we start our patients on once or twice weekly. And please tell your nephrologist that UC Irvine Center of Excellence has started this for the past 5 years so that we avoid abrupt increase in mortality in the first few months. Now, if I tell you that now my father, my uncle is old, if he needs dialysis, should he start dialysis or should he delay or defer dialysis? I'm going to say that if I can delay and defer dialysis, that my uncle still can live long and happy, then I'm happy because I don't want my uncle to go to hospice. I want my uncle to be around if possible. And I'm going to say that this is not for old patients anymore. This is for everybody. 2020 and 2021 is the year of preserving kidney function and preserving your transplant kidney function. If you have a kidney transplant, if they tell you that go and eat whatever you want and in 10 years I give you a second transplant, I'm going to tell you no. If you do certain changes in what you eat, your protein intake and source of protein, your kidney transplant may last another 5 years, another 10 years. We don't know exactly. I'd like to acknowledge this gentleman who at the age of 72, I think, started dialysis. At that time, they said that essentially there was different options for him. And then for the next 8 years until February, when I met with him in Baltimore, he was a member of KPAC, Kidney Patient Committee. He did so well. He had this, as you see, this sign, dialysis means life. So with that, I just wanted to also say in the middle of everything, I say that I'm not against dialysis. I'm medical director of dialysis centers, but my patient, I always tell them, if we can avoid dialysis for you, if your kidney transplant can last another additional 5, 10, 20, 30 years, if your native kidney can last another years before we need dialysis, why not? We are here to do that. So with that comes here Back to the Future. That means preservative management of your native and transplant kidney. How kidney can last longer and longer and longer. Diet and lifestyle modification is the one that I'm pro for. That means people come here, fly here to see us for that, because they say that everybody says that, look, your transplant, it doesn't work anymore, and in 2 months from now you need to start back on dialysis. And I said that, look, I can't make miracle, but we have this center of excellence for lifestyle and diet modification. And what's lifestyle modification? It has actually scientific meanings and definitions. That means you change nutrition and diet. You always start with nutrition and diet, and other things, physical activities, psychosocial care, smoking cessations, and self-management. And with that comes also CKD and different type of CKDs, including DKD, diabetic CKD, or diabetic kidney disease, which is essentially the same. So if I want to focus on COVID-19, I just show you maybe 1 or 2 slides on COVID-19. Yes, it's the era of COVID-19, and we write a lot about this, what to eat to avoid COVID-19, or if you get COVID or coronavirus, to make it less severe. But these are all opinion-based, including my own suggestions. So please take it with a grain of salt. Let's go by what to eat if you have kidney disease. Well, guess what? Your dietitians, not all dietitians, but some still tell you that high protein makes you thin, high protein is good for you. And Dr. Kalantar is here to tell all of them that this is wrong. High protein is not good for your kidneys. When you get kidney transplant, if your dietitian says eat a lot of high protein so you lose weight, please let that dietitian talk to me. This is not correct. At least I'm here to share with you. Now, in the United States, what's the amount of protein we eat? 1.3, 1.2 grams per kilogram per day, per body weight. That comes around 80 to 120 grams of protein. What's low protein? Low protein is 0.6 to 0.8. So 50% of that is usually recommended by some dietitians, not all. Those dietitians that are not trained and certified by me, they know the approach to low protein diet. And KDOQI guidelines, very interestingly, that just came out a few weeks ago, they also essentially endorsed what we, and I shouldn't say we, it's not about bragging, all of us, I mean, those who are in the field of renal nutrition have always said, lower protein intake for anybody who has CKD stage 3, 4, 5, or kidney transplantation. Now, nephrologists, you may go to a nephrologist somewhere and says that, no, that's not true. Low protein diet didn't work. There was a study called MDRD study. It showed it didn't work. Yes, this study was published in 1994, and it was a good study. It did not show officially improvement in kidney function. And why is that? Well, if you look at this, this is your nephron. You see here? So we give you medications to help with the longevity of nephron. We give you ACE inhibitors, lisinopril, to open up efferent arterioles. And there is SGLT2 inhibitors to tighten efferent arterioles. And I'm going to say, if you can prevent anything or manage anything with diet, then that essentially gets higher priority than chemical agents with our medications. And how we can maximize what medications do is by approach to the diet. If you look at here, this is essentially the paper we published in New England Journal of Medicine with the same concept, how to open up this area and how to tighten up this area instead of medication. How about diet? It's called, the keyword is low protein diet. Now, if those who are eating a lot right now for lunch, if you eat a lot of red meat and chicken and everything, amino acid surge in your blood opens the entry to the glomerulus. Is it good or bad? Well, each time you eat protein, you need to open this up so that GFR goes up, the blood pressure inside goes up, GFR goes up. You need to get rid of all the poisons you are eating. Each time I eat protein, you eat protein, a lot of amino acids generated, and that's why kidneys need to hyperfunction. It's called hyperfiltration. If I eat less protein, these efferent arterial tighten. Therefore, GFR goes low. That means kidney function apparently is lower when you eat less protein, but then in long term, that glomerulus, be it native or transplant kidney, lasts longer. That's the whole point. how we can get longevity. It's like a car. You drive the car every day, highways, high speed, a lot of load. That car is not going to last long. You drive the car slowly. Don't put too much stuff into that. Don't overload the car. That car hopefully lasts longer. I apologize oversimplify this, but this is essentially the message. And therefore, if that's the case, if you look at here, look at some of the messages. We say high protein diet is bad for kidney, unleashing the taboo. Why is this taboo? Because for years we thought high protein diet is good and we lose weight, we don't get diabetes. But what if the kidney part was always forgotten? Look, it went to the news, and it's just one of the examples that we're talking about this, and this vicious cycle. Jason, for example, is the top nephrology journal in the world, and 2 months ago, they published here a review, the effect of high protein diet on kidney health. There are now data suggesting that across a lot of places where high protein diet, high meat diet is recommended by endocrinologists and dietitians, it may cause more harm. Now, if you go back to low protein diet or of what happened in 1994, actually, if you look at patients with mostly polycystic kidney disease at that time who were randomized on normal protein diet versus low protein diet, initially, actually, let me share this with you. Initially, the first 3 months, kidney function on low protein diet got worse a little bit. But then after month 4, the progression slowed down so that at the end, there was actually those who were on low protein diet, the progression was slower than those who were on normal protein diet, not to mention those who sometimes eat high protein diet where the progression is even faster. Now, if that's the case, why don't we practice this? Because the study, first of all, was considered negative for a variety of reasons. And it coincided in 1994 with the rise of the dialysis industry, nothing against dialysis. As I said, when you need dialysis, you have to do dialysis. And then some people said that low protein diet could also cause malnutrition. And we wrote about this. We are educating our dietitians, the new generation of dietitians, not the potassium-obsessed dietitians, but dietitians who are now learning all these new approaches. And always we tell them that what is the recommended dietary allowance by the Institute of Medicine? That's not high protein. The Institute of Medicine only recommends 0.8 grams per kilogram. And if you're 70 kilograms, for example, 70 times 0.8, it's around 50 to 60 grams of protein. That is safe. You don't even need to have special high biologic value or something. That is all the Institute of Medicine, the highest level of United States of America's academicians, Institute of Medicine has recommended 0.8, whereas we all eat more than that. And now, the part that we also have contributed to that is that 50% of the source of protein should be from plant-based. We don't say vegan or vegetarian. That's a political, sometimes sadly is considered political. We say plant dominant, all right? Plant dominant. And we say that you can, 50% should be from protein. High biological value is not necessary. The abbreviation of plant dominant is PLA, means plant. DO means dominant. Play-Doh or plant dominant probably is, and we're working on different patients-friendly meal plans for plant dominant approaches. Now, high biologic value exists, but high biologic value, that it means a lot of meat, and we are against that. We say that the era of saying that 0.8 is not enough and you need a lot of meat to compensate for that is over. Now we say that all you need to focus on is plant dominant, low protein diet, adequate calories should not be more than 30 or 35 per kilogram. And anybody who says that causes obesity, believe me, you implement 30 to 35 per day and don't go above that, you lose weight actually. You will not gain weight. There is no way that you limit your calorie to less than 35 and per kilogram ideal body weight, and you gain weight. Potassium should be adequate. What we did for 50 years, for 30 years, depriving patients from healthy food. We say no banana, no avocado. It probably cause more harm. And this so-called low potassium is now the era where the low potassium is going away. Now, what should I do? Doctor, my potassium is high. Yes, I have a lot of high potassium patients, but what we found and what all the data have shown is not banana and avocado that causes high potassium, so many other things. And it's also an era where we have potassium binders. Hopefully we help that. We allow our patients to eat more and more plant-based and healthy instead of depriving them. Now, what about how is going to adhere to this? Actually, guess what? This is something that most of my patients, they love. They fly from New York, from Texas to see me. They say that, look, we adore this having 50% plant-based and 50% of my choice. I tell them that on the other 50% that you have your non-plant-based, you can have anything you would like. But I would like to suggest that if you can also have less red meat and more other sources, that would be even better, because cardiologists have shown that red meat is also associated with cardiovascular disease. Now, what else do we do? When my patients come here, they all have to collect 24-hour urine for me, be it transplant, non-transplant, and I measure how much protein, how much sodium they eat, how much potassium, how much urea. We calculate, we tell them this is essentially what they're doing, and if you eat too much protein, I'm going to warn you. If you don't eat enough plant, I'm going to warn you. I said, look, my dietitian says potassium is bad. I said, look, let me talk to your dietitian. Potassium, if it's natural potassium coming from plant-based diet, and if it's well controlled by other means, it's not bad. Now, what if eventually we need to start dialysis? This is something that also I mentioned, that we say gradual transition to dialysis. If a transplant patient after 10 years, 15 years need dialysis, it's wrong. The old era, go to this hospital, that hospital in Beverly Hills, anywhere, bang, start 3 times a week dialysis. That era is over. Now the UCI model is once a week dialysis, and the other 5 days a week, 6 days a week, you continue low protein diet. Essentially, if you think about this, the key word is residual kidney function. How I can maintain my urine. I'm a patient, I have kidney failure, but I still make urine, doctor. Why are you starting me on 3 times a week dialysis? Have you ever asked that question? And the good news is that now in Southern California, the UCI model is prevailing. The entire California, and now it's going to New York and other places. We start incremental dialysis. Why is that? Because residual kidney function, when you start dialysis, you still make urine. We need to cherish that. We can't say that, oh, that's nothing, don't worry, we don't need that. We all need your KTVV, right? So maintain that by once or twice weekly dialysis. That means each time you get dialysis, you may get more loss of your residual kidney function. So why not once or twice? Why not freedom? Why not enjoying life if you can? Again, my patients know when I say now, Mr. Jones, it's time for you to switch after 3 months, 1 year, 3 years to twice weekly dialysis. They work with us. They do that. They never give me a hard time, very rarely. So this is the old approach, twice weekly. This is the new approach, or UCI model, twice weekly. Then 3 months to 3 years to 5 years later, twice weekly, when you need 5 times a week, and essentially precision medicine, individual's approach to dialysis. Now, why do I mention this for under nutrition? Why? Because on the non-dialysis days, I say that, look, Ms. Smith, Mr. Gonzalez, let's have less protein on non-dialysis days and normal protein on dialysis days. And this is Italian approach, actually, it's not UCI approach. It's Locatelli approach in southern Italy. They have been practicing this for 20 years. And so now, do we have barriers with plant-based? Yes, there's still a lot of questions. They say plant means protein, potassium is not enough protein. And the answer is that era is over. We are in the era of plant-dominant, plant-based diet, and the data are really overwhelming. This is one of many. I mean, there is I have one talk specific to plant-dominant and plant-based diet. I'm just showing 3 or 4 slides of that 1 hour talk. Dr. Joshi Shivam, who is getting the National Kidney Foundation Award of 2021, is a pioneer of that. This data suggests that the more, if once you reach 50% of source of protein being plant, then the risk of end-stage kidney disease goes down. You see here? And the more you have, for example, if Play-Doh means 50%, we don't have Play-Doh 1 and Play-Doh 2. Play-Doh 1 means up to 50 to 75% of your source of protein being plant, and Play-Doh 2 means above 75%. And you choose that. You choose the one that works the best for you. And 50% to 2/3 of the source of your protein should come from plant. Potassium binders will help you. This is not an era where you have potassium binders, and any of them. I really don't have any preference. In my opinion, the best medication is the one that works. Be it potassium binder or phosphorus binder. If anybody asks me, doctor, do you like this one? Do you like this company? I said, look, for me, it doesn't matter. For only patient determines what's the best medication, which one works the best for him or her. So, do we have a lot of clinical data on plant-dominant low-protein diet? No, we don't have a lot of data. Actually, we have a lot of data on plant-based protein diet. We have a lot of data on plant-dominant and plant-based diet in cardiology and a lot of other things. Combining this together is probably the best thing we can do. In the clinic I had this morning in Orange at UC Irvine, I have half of my patients are those who had only one kidney, those who either donated a kidney or those who had kidney cancer. These are called solidary kidneys. And in the past, we didn't know well. We always tell them, you donate your kidney and go and live another 50 years and eat whatever you want. We learned that we may not have been correct. Nowadays, I tell them slightly lower protein, avoid too much meat, and the range of protein is 0.8 to 1. This is what our solidary kidney clinic does here. Avoid too much protein, avoid too much meat. And this is essentially, you can Google my name and put solidary kidney and see some of the recommendations that have been published in kidney. And these are essentially training doctors, by the way. I have to apologize. These are not at the language of patients, and we are hoping with your help, we can translate more and more of them to patient-centered approaches. Transplanted patient, in my opinion, a transplant kidney is as important as, if not much more important than native kidney. You got a kidney transplant, then more reason for you to adjust your lifestyle. If a dietitian tells you go and eat whatever you want and go and eat a lot of protein and meat, I think I need just send that dietitian to me, and I'm here to train all of our dietitians. If your nephrologist says just send those nephrologists to me, and probably they know about all these things. And if they say that potassium is bad, potassium is killing you, yes, high potassium level in the blood is not safe. But we are here to say that plant-based, plant-dominant diets have never been shown to cause all these apprehension and fears of potassium. And we are here to change that paradigm with your help. So now I have only 2 slides left. I would like, once again, this is the second time I would like to acknowledge late Mr. Allen Henry Nelson. Why? Because in our national forum of ESRI Networks, 18 ESRI Networks, we have a national forum to work together across the nation. We meet with federal government agencies several times a month. And one of our 3 components of the National Forum of ESRI Networks is actually Kidney Patient Advisory Committee, or KPAC. And our patients, breaking they pass away, the council loses a lot of them, but this is an example of a patient who said, when you need dialysis, dialysis saves lives. And I would like to share with you here a quote from our New England Journal of Medicine paper in July. The 1973 Medicare expansion allowed nearly all Americans with terminal kidney failure access to life-sustaining dialysis. It permitted patients to choose dialysis not just to survive, but also to maintain hope. Hope of continuing valued relationship. Hope of rehabilitation. and hope of achieving life goals and pursuits. For those who force our patients, say dialysis is not good for you, you're too old, come to my hospice, and this is our new nephrology approach, I'm going to say that, look, my patient needs me. I need to make sure that my patient is not coerced to sign up with hospice or palliative medicine. Nothing wrong against them. I work with them. But the same way that a cancer patient may not be forced or coerced to choose hospice if he or she wants to live, nobody in this country should ever allow a dialysis or transplant patient to stop dialysis or transplant. Nobody should go to my patient in ICU and says, look, you got infection, you got 5 years of kidney transplant, you have bad infection, and please sign here and go to hospital, never come back because 30-day hospital readmission is high. We need the bed for COVID. That should never happen. Together we can avoid that. Despite all its flaws and burdens, dialysis prolongs life for many people. People who choose to start or continue this therapy to maintain hope in the face of organ failure. So hope is real. Dialysis has many problems. Kidney transplant has many problems, but it did save lives and it continued to save lives. So please don't allow any of what we do to be labeled as inappropriate or bad or too much dialysis. As I said, dialysis, when it's done correctly, gradually, incrementally, transplant, when it's done correctly, they all save lives. So this is my last slide. In summary, alternative nutritional approaches for CKD and DKD, diabetic kidney disease, for management of CKD should be used and innovated, such as nutritional therapy. For those who say nutrition and diet never work, maybe they're wrong, they're right, maybe they're wrong. Give it a try. Diet is everything, nutrition is everything. If you can handle something, if you can manage kidney health by diet, why not? Low protein diet, 0.6 to 0.8 grams per kilogram ideal body weight per day, should be the target for non-dialysis dependent DKD, or even those on dialysis who still make a lot of urine. They should get 1 or 2 days a week instead of 3 days a week. And we should have micronutrients. More than 50% of the source of protein should be plant-based or plant-dominant, or Play-Doh. Fruits and vegetables should not become taboos for our patients. Hyperkalemia should be managed by different ways instead of depriving our patients of healthy food and healthy lifestyle. Dietary sodium, I didn't have time today to talk about these things, but we also say that avoid high sodium. There's no question about this. And when dialysis is necessary, incremental transfusion dialysis is likely a better approach. For example, 1 to 2 times a week dialysis, while Play-Doh continues on non-dialysis days. And together with patients, with patient groups, we are here to work together to find the best ways for patients to live long, to live well, to live happy. I would like to acknowledge my colleagues when I spent years at UCLA and then past 8 years at UC Irvine. I would like to thank everybody for the privilege. Thank you very much.
Doctor, thank you so much for that information. We've definitely learned some new information. I was glad to see the new term to replace plant-based diet. I'd like to share a couple of questions that have been in our chat box, and then we'll move on to our last speaker. So we have Christine. She says, I'm stage 3B. Uh-oh. There we go. Let me find it. Okay, let me see. Move the screen. Okay, I'm stage 3B. I asked my doctor to see a nutritionist and a specialist. He told me I don't need to see one. I'm newly diagnosed. Is this true? I'm so confused. What's
I'm sorry. Let me ask this. I would like to. I feel bad that somebody, a kidney patient, who has kidney disease. Almost always the first question, doctor, what should I eat? And to tell the patient that you don't need a dietitian or you don't need dietary advice, that's wrong. So and sadly, I should not criticize my colleagues because we train nephrologists. We train 6 to 8 nephrologists here at UC Irvine. We are the UC, so we are a center of training, and I have 17 nephrology faculty working in this great center. I'm chief of nephrology. I'm privileged to be chief, and yes, even doctors working with me, they have different opinions because I can't force people to follow what I believe, what my clinic is doing. I can only train them. So my suggestion is, in a nice way, please reach out to your nephrologist again and say that Dr. Kalantar or other doctors are saying that nutrition and diet may help. And there are dietitians in any area should work. Just remember the keyword, a few keywords. One is avoid too much protein, avoid too much meat, and try to eat more plants than non-plant. So I'm not saying go and become vegan or vegetarian. That's your choice. Just eat more plant, less animal, and control your potassium through other ways. If possible, if you have high potassium, ask your doctors to adjust the medication. So this is essentially what I would tell your doctor, and hopefully your doctor now also refers you to dietitians.
Okay. Krista had a question. She says she has IgA and wanted to know, she said, if your blood pressure is under control and weight is under control, how can you lower the protein in your urine after being newly transplanted, right after a new transplant?
Okay, so if you had IgA nephropathy during the time that you didn't have a kidney transplant, I have IgA nephropathy patients, and they said, doctor, I'm losing 1 gram to 5 grams of protein in the urine. That means I need more protein. I said, no, that's the opposite. The more protein you do, the worse is your proteinuria, and the faster your kidney function is going to go to the final stage. So just give it a try. Lower the amount of protein intake and meat intake and see what happens. A lot of data. It's not Dr. Kalantar is making up a lot. There are a lot of studies suggesting that lowering protein intake lowers protein in the urine. And always remember, protein in the urine is a bad sign. That means your kidney is leaking protein. If you're a kidney transplant, just talk with your kidney transplant nephrologist and say that this is what you heard today, avoiding high protein and managing your weight. A lot of people, they gain weight after kidney transplant. Why is that? Because we are happier with kidney transplant. Happy persons have high appetite, right? But that doesn't mean that go and tell you I go and eat only meat to lose weight. I think if you can do other ways to lose weight, as I said, you cut calorie, you lose weight, no question. So avoid too much protein and animal protein, and your proteinuria hopefully goes down. And the proteinuria should be watched very carefully. We do 24-hour urine collections on all of our patients, do accurate assessment of proteinuria, and see if you can eat more plants, and if eating more plants and less meat lowers the amount of protein in the urine.
Okay, that's very helpful. I think most of that should have answered most of the people. We also have with us Mandy Trollinger. Yay, Mandy, hadn't seen you in a long time. Who's a transplant patient, I think 2 times, and also a renal dietitian. She can also help answer some of the questions. But Dr. Kalantar Zeta, I would also I have one more question, and they want to know about whole wheat. What do you think about whole wheat? And there's also someone that mentions brown rice. So should they be avoided, or are they good?
In my opinion, there is nothing they should not be avoided. If anything, whole wheat, plant-based, anything that is actually related to whole food is healthy. It's for us, it's always embarrassing that in kidney medicine, we have to say that don't eat this, or don't eat this plant, don't eat that plant because of high potassium. As I said, your dietitians, your nephrologists should now feel more empowered to push for, or to recommend, not push, to recommend for more healthy food and more plant-based food, especially, as I said, whole food. There is nothing wrong. And those who say it has a lot of potassium, just see if it works or not. Don't blame healthy food for potassium level. There's so many other things that including medications and other things. In fact, If you eat more plant-based diet, if you don't have constipation, probably your potassium goes down. And remember that medications we give for high potassium, essentially these are medications such as KXI that could cause diarrhea. That means essentially they as long as your bowel movement, your transit time is good, and that requires really, you can achieve that by having unhealthy diet and not eating enough time. That will probably help you with potassium control.
Okay, thank you. Lori, how are we on time? Are we ready to move to our next speaker? I have a couple more in here.
I think go for like 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we'll move to our next speaker.
Okay, perfect. So we have a bodybuilder in here, and we have a teenager, and they're both wanting to know, let's see, they both want to know like what would be a recommended amount of protein they would take with their transplant. Do you have like
very nicely said. Look, I have had bodybuilders all these years, and some of them have been my dialysis patients, professional bodybuilders from different parts of LA. They come to see me. And sometimes they say, is it, I got kidney disease because of testosterone injection? Is it because of that? I said, I don't know. Maybe too much protein, all these 200 to 300 grams of protein a day. It's like a car that is overloaded for several years and you achieve great things. You should be commended. And I don't know what caused this kidney disease. Instead of blaming yourself, let's work together, see what we can do. If you need dialysis, we start dialysis. Now, this is very difficult. I've had bodybuilders, sometimes they come with family members, sometimes they get angry when I say, I need to adjust your protein to lower level. Why? Because they're making, I mean, they have a business out of that. And it's difficult for me to say that, hey, from now on, you can't do this anymore, right? So we have created programs. We don't say to go as low, as long as we can calculate how much of this protein can be incorporated to your muscle. We don't go above that so that the kidneys don't get the surge of amino acid. This is what we do. So it's not easy. And then for teenagers, yes, when since I'm a pediatrician, when somebody is already on dialysis and is growing, we need more protein. And therefore, patients who are on dialysis, don't please take me wrong. Patients on dialysis who don't make urine, I give them high protein. During my dialysis rounds, I pass out. Burgers, and that's another side of me, and people say that this guy is paradoxical. He says low protein and goes to dialysis rounds and passes out high protein. Yes, because one size does not fit all. Precision medicine, and that's what we do together, right?
Okay, last question we have, I think it's Krista. She says, thank you, Dr. Kam, for your answer. Do you know how much protein I should be eating to help with the leaking of protein? She said, my blood pressure, her blood pressure is under control. She's around 130 pounds, 5'7", 48 years old.
Very good. Just calculate 0.6 to 0.8, 135 converted to kilograms. Let's say it's around 50 kilograms, 50, 55. So 55 times 0.8, 55 times 0.6. Then you have 2 ranges. Good. For example, it becomes probably 35 to 60 grams of protein. And try not to go above that, not to go below that. All right, please. Some people suddenly, when they listen to my talk, they go to the extreme and say, protein is bad, I'm going to, no, that is bad too. Stay within the range and try 50% of this thing from plant-based, and let's see if your protein in the urine goes down. And we'll see, do 24-hour urine protein or protein to creatinine. So we'll look forward to good results.
Dr. Kam, can you run through that math again, please?
Yeah, math is not very difficult. 0.6. Thank you, Lori, by the way. Thank you, Lori, for inviting me. It's such a great pleasure to meet Lori. I remember 2 years ago when we met during one of the ESRI Network meetings. So 0.6 to 0.8 is the best range. 0.6 per kilograms to 0.8. So convert your pound, your weight in pounds into kilograms. So if you're 170, it becomes, for example, 60 kilograms. 60 times 0.6 and 60 times 0.8. And that gives you the total protein from this range to this, from this number to this number. And remember, Dr. Kam Kalantar wants you to have half of this coming from plant. The other half is your joy. Good?
Perfect. Right. Thank you.
And a shout out to our corporate mission partners for making this happen.